Something invisible is shifting your frequency right now, and it has nothing to do with positive thinking, rituals, or meditation. It's like your field has started to silently collapse without warning, and the world around you is starting to break with it. You feel tired for no reason, uncomfortable in places where you once felt good, and suddenly irritated by things you used to tolerate. But this isn't bad luck, and it's not anxiety either. What's happening is that your old vibration has started to fail. Yeah, you're being pulled into a frequency that changes everything, and there's no going back. This shift wasn't your choice, it was an activation, and now that it started, you need to understand what Thoth left recorded for those who were ready, because he revealed a vibrational code that rewrites the reality around you, and if you ignore it now, you'll keep manifesting the opposite of what you want. But if you stay with me until the end, you'll find out why your reality is stuck, what this forgotten frequency is, and how to activate the state that transforms everything effortlessly. Write in the comments now, I accept the new frequency. Who writes, anchors, and who anchors, changes. Because from now on, the universe is going to start testing you. And what happens depends on the vibration you hold. What's acting in you right now isn't thought, it's frequency. And this frequency holds a secret that's never been spoken, only felt. Thoth knew this. He wasn't just an Egyptian sage with mastery over sacred words. He was a vibrational presence that activated truths without needing to say them. Thoth didn't write to inform, he wrote to transform, yet even so, he never left his deepest teachings on papyrus or stone. Because they couldn't be translated into sentences, they didn't fit in language. Imagine trying to explain the sound of silence or the taste of full presence with words. It doesn't work, because some truths weren't made to be explained. They were made to be accessed, and Thoth knew that words could be corrupted. What was alive and subtle could become doctrine, become dogma, become a system. That's why he communicated differently. Through the field, he used his own vibration as a code, a kind of energetic transmission that could only be received by those clean enough to feel it. In ancient rituals, true initiates were taken to silent temples, and there, amidst the echo of emptiness, something would happen. It wasn't taught, it was activated. Because the most sacred knowledge Thoth kept only revealed itself when the disciples' field resonated with the truth. And that truth couldn't be spoken, because speaking distorted it, sound limited it, the mind filtered it. But the vibration went straight through the body, straight to the soul, without asking permission from reason. This kind of teaching isn't meant to be understood, it's meant to be absorbed. That's why so many read Hermetic texts and leave empty, because they're looking for logic, theory, explanation. But what Thoth transmitted was presence, and presence isn't interpreted, it's felt. And that feeling depends on your vibrational state, on how willing you are to empty what you think you know, to let something deeper move through you. Most people don't realize it, but they live completely shut off from this kind of transmission, because they've confused knowledge with accumulation. The more they know, the less they access, because they're full of ideas, beliefs, comparisons. The mind is too busy to hear what only the field can pick up. Thoth didn't speak to convince. He stood in silence, and the field did the work. Have you ever been near someone and, without them saying a word, felt something shift in you? A relief, a clarity, a strange sense of lucidity? That's vibrational presence in action. And that's exactly how Thoth's hidden teachings operated. Not by instruction, but by transmission. The initiate didn't receive a book. They received an impact. And that impact reorganized their vibration from the inside out. A new rhythm began to form, a new energetic pattern. And with that, the initiate started to perceive realities that had always been there, invisible until now. Thoth didn't use words as his main tool because he knew language is dual. It always divides, always interprets. And the truth he held was unified, absolute. It couldn't be broken into logical parts. It had to be felt all at once with the whole body, in an instant, in a silence full of information. But this vibrational transmission only happens when you stop trying to understand and start allowing yourself to feel, not rationally, but with your whole field. And this is where people get stuck. Because to access this level of teaching, you have to break a pattern so old, it's disguised as your identity. The mind says, I'm like this. But really, it's just a frequency repeated so many times that you believed it was you. But it's not. This vibrational code of Thoth can only be picked up when you silence the noise of who you think you are. When the character drops, when the role you play in the world begins to crumble, only then is the field clean enough to receive what's always been there, pulsing, waiting, calling. And that call doesn't come with words, it comes with frequency. A vibration as ancient as creation itself, but still pulsing in the present. A cosmic memory that doesn't go through the mind but lodges directly in your essence. And once you come into contact with it, nothing else can satisfy you, because you experience something so real that everything else feels artificial. But this vibration can only be accessed when you break a pattern so deeply rooted. It feels like your personality, but it's not. And that's where the deepest illusion lies. Because even after touching that silent field, even after feeling that something new has started to vibrate within you, the mind tries to stay in control. It still wants to understand, manipulate, lead. And without realizing it, you go back to wanting. You start thinking, now that I'm vibrating differently, I want to manifest this, attract that, change the other. And that's when the field gets confused, because your desire is screaming, but your vibration is saying the opposite. This is where a lot of people get lost, thinking they're aligned with what they want to live, when in reality they're emitting the exact frequency of what they most want to avoid. You say you want freedom, but your decisions are still driven by fear. You talk about abundance, but when you look at your bank account, your chest tightens. You repeat affirmations about love, but when someone gets close, your body shuts down, reacts, protects itself. And the field reads exactly that: defense, rejection, dissonance. It doesn't matter what you wish for, the field doesn't respond to words. It responds to the vibration of now, and that vibration is determined not by what you think, but by what your body holds, by how you breathe, by the tension in your shoulders, by the knot in your stomach when something threatens you. That's where the real frequency is, not in your speech, but in your silent reaction. The mind projects desires, but the field only recognizes what the body confirms. This is the trickiest illusion. You think you're vibrating love, but you're actually vibrating neediness. You think you're vibrating abundance, but you're emitting fear of loss. You think you're vibrating confidence, but your nervous system is on alert, expecting the worst. And since the universe responds to what's at the core, it mirrors that internal state. Even if your intention was positive, what happens then is a cruel paradox. You try, you commit, you do everything to align your energy, and still nothing changes. Or it changes for a moment and goes back to the same place. Because the dominant vibration wasn't the desire, it was the pattern hiding behind it. And this is what almost no one sees, because it's subtle, almost invisible, but completely decisive. You want to be seen, to be recognized. But inside you still carry a memory of being invisible, of rejection. And even if you put yourself out there, even if you show up, your field still vibrates like you don't deserve to be seen, and the universe just obeys. This is the point where most people give up. because they think they're doing something wrong. But the mistake isn't in the practice. It's in the silent frequency that's still vibrating like a shield. It's like trying to shout with a muffled voice. You try, but nothing echoes. The field only responds when the vibration is clean, when there's no noise between what you want and what you're holding. And for that to happen, you have to face the cruelest vibrational mirror of all, the one that shows you might be wanting one thing, but vibrating exactly the opposite. This isn't guilt. It's not failure. It's programming. You didn't choose to vibrate scarcity. You learned it. You didn't choose to vibrate fear. You absorbed it. But now, with awareness, you can start to undo it. But first, you need to see it. And the mistake that sabotages your real frequency is almost unnoticeable. But now you're going to see it, not with your eyes, but with the field. Because the real saboteur isn't in your conscious choices or your pretty speeches or the affirmations you repeat every day. It's in the hidden gesture, in the detail, in what you do without realizing it. You say you're ready to receive the new, but clench your jaw every time something unfamiliar comes close. You talk about gratitude, but after a conversation ends, you sigh in frustration. You want to open to love, but you cross your arms whenever someone tries to get close. Seems small, but it's in these micro gestures that the field reads your truth. It's there, in the invisible detail, that the frequency is decoded. Because the universe doesn't hear your words. It watches what you do when you think no one's looking. How you breathe through discomfort. How you react to a compliment. What you feel when you receive attention. And most importantly, what you hide from yourself. It's that subtle layer that shapes everything. Those gestures that slip past awareness are like energetic signatures, marks your field leaves wherever you go, and it's those marks that build or sabotage everything you're trying to manifest. You can plan a new project with excitement, lay out your vision for the future, align your speech, but if your body is vibrating contraction, fear, urgency, the field will pick up on that signal and return a blurred, confusing, disorganized reflection. And the worst part, you'll think you're being tested. You'll think the universe is taking too long, that things aren't working, but in reality, it's just accurately reflecting what you haven't realized you're emitting. This is where many get lost, because they think they lack courage, when really what they lack is coherence. They think they need to act more, when actually what they need is to observe better, feel better, truly listen to themselves. Because the field doesn't respond to effort, it responds to clarity. And clarity starts in the hidden gesture. It starts in that moment when you smile on the outside but roll your eyes on the inside. In the instant you say yes to avoid disappointing someone but feel your throat tighten. In that second when someone offers help and you automatically refuse even though you need it. Tiny choices that seem insignificant, but define your vibration with surgical precision. The hidden gesture is more powerful than any declaration. And that's why it needs to be brought into awareness, needs to be seen, named, dissolved, because as long as it's active, you'll keep trying to manifest a future with the unconscious vibration of the past. And that's what keeps the cycle spinning. You act like you've changed, but your gestures still obey the old self. The tone of your voice still carries fear. Your touch still carries insecurity. Your presence still apologizes for existing. And the field picks up on that before you do. It's not about forcing authenticity or faking self-confidence. It's about unmasking the conditioned reflex that's still vibrating inside you. And this doesn't require effort. It requires attention. Attention to what moves in you before the mind, before speech, before reaction. Because it's in that subtle space that your true frequency is shaped. And when you start observing that hidden gesture, everything changes. Because you stop lying to yourself. You stop vibrating contradiction. You stop sabotaging yourself with automatic behaviors that no longer reflect who you're becoming. You start to emit what you truly want to live, not because you talked about it, but because your presence started to vibrate it. And it's at that exact point, in that instant of silent alignment between what you think, feel, and do, that your frequency reorganizes. And there's a precise moment when your frequency reorganizes. You'll discover which one, and when it happens, everything starts to align. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. It's subtle, it's internal, it's almost imperceptible, but it has the power to flip the switch. This moment isn't an event. It's not a burst of feelings or a magical awakening. It's a fit, a point of silent convergence between mind, body, and soul. It's when what you think, what you feel, and what you do finally stop fighting each other. And for the first time, move as one. You feel it, not as euphoria, but as calm. The urgency fades, the doubt weakens, the comparison disappears, and in its place, a kind of solid presence rises. Like everything that was once confusing starts to make sense. That's the state where the field starts to hear you clearly, because there's no more noise, no more interference. You stopped sending mixed signals. You stopped asking with your words and denying with your body. You stopped wanting with your mind and resisting with your actions. And that internal silence creates what the ancients called coherent frequency. That state was the true goal of vibrational alchemy. More than gold, more than power, the sages sought that coherence because they knew when vibration stabilizes, reality bends. That's the point where intention stops being a desire and becomes an identity. You no longer try to manifest, you manifest. Not because you're trying, but because what you want is already part of who you've become. You're no longer chasing anything, no longer vibrating lack. You're just being. And being is the most magnetic state there is. This kind of coherence isn't built through effort. It shows up when you stop playing roles, when you let go of the need to appear a certain way, and start living like someone who already knows, like someone who already is. No need to prove, no need to explain. In that moment, the field stops resisting, because it senses there's no more separation between what's being asked for and who's asking. There's no more expectation, there's alignment, and alignment doesn't push, it radiates. The universe recognizes it instantly, because vibrational coherence is a universal language. It doesn't need explanation. It doesn't need ritual. When you enter this state, reality itself begins to rearrange around you. And it doesn't happen because you learned something new. It happens because you stop contradicting yourself. You start to notice answers arriving effortlessly, doors opening where there used to be resistance, opportunities appearing from unexpected places. But the most amazing thing is what happens inside. You're no longer searching for signs, because now you are the sign. You're no longer asking for answers, because now you've become the answer. You're no longer waiting for outside validation, because now your vibration is strong enough to hold your new reality, even if no one else understands. And that's exactly where the magic begins. This point of stabilization is what the ancients called a vibrational foundation. The base upon which new realities can be built. But this base isn't made with techniques. It's made with truth, with energetic integrity, with presence. And when that presence holds, the field responds. Not with tests, not with delays, but with confirmation. You no longer feel like you're being challenged. You feel like you're being recognized. Because the field doesn't test you when you're coherent. It supports you. But there's something even more rare than this state of coherence. A level of vibration preserved in the most secret teachings of Thoth, a frequency that speeds up this stabilization and carries a name few have dared to speak. It has a name. And this name isn't just a word, it's a pulse. A code that belongs to no language, but vibrates in every consciousness ready to live with integrity, stability, and truth. Sir-Ak. Sir-Ak is not a mantra, it's not a philosophy, it's not a concept to memorize. It's a frequency of existence, a silent state where the being stops searching and starts vibrating like someone who has already found. That's where everything reconfigures. In this state, there's no urgency, no expectation, no how or when. There is only a clean, calm, absolute field where the external world no longer has the power to control your internal state. You no longer react to the world. You anchor the world. Sir-Ak is when the body stops vibrating scarcity, when the mind stops calculating, when the soul stops begging for validation. It's when you rest deeply in the certainty that what once felt far is already integrated. It's no longer about trying to manifest. It's about embodying what already vibrates in you. And the most amazing part, this state isn't built, it's allowed. It doesn't require visualization or affirmations. It only requires a subtle decision, a silent surrender, to stop moving toward what you want and start moving as someone who's already living it. It's like a deep breath after years of holding it in. The body relaxes, the mind quiets, and the field responds. But it responds differently because Sr-Ak doesn't push, it doesn't demand, it magnetizes. Everything on the same frequency starts to be drawn in, not through effort, but through vibrational gravity. Like you're a star, and everything that belongs to you starts to orbit around you. No chasing, no asking. This state is so rare because it can only emerge once the old scarcity pattern has been dissolved. It doesn't tolerate masks. It doesn't mix with doubt. And that's why it's so magnetic, because it's pure. Thoth taught that this was the real gold of spiritual alchemy, the gold that doesn't rust, that doesn't disappear, the gold that's not in the world, but in the vibrational presence of someone who remembers they already are, who doesn't need to prove, who doesn't need to rush, who simply rests and holds. And when that holding lasts long enough, the field understands, now it's real, and it begins to respond. But it doesn't respond with ordinary coincidences. It responds with codes, with pulses, with signs that carry a frequency so specific you can't ignore it. They come at the right time, in the right form, like the universe is signing off, loud and clear. I heard you. I received it. It's done. And the most recognizable of all those signs is a number. Not just any number, but a sequence that carries the vibrational signature of full integration. And when that state starts to vibrate, the field responds with the number no one forgets, 777. And when it happens, something inside you stops. It's not surprise, it's recognition. You feel a quiet presence settle in your chest, like the entire universe just sent you a wordless message. Now you're vibrating with clarity. That number doesn't appear because you asked for a sign. It appears because the field recognized that your vibration stopped wavering. There's no more back and forth, no more morning affirmations and nighttime doubts. What was once an attempt became stability, and that stability is what creates the echo. 777 is not a prediction. It doesn't announce what's coming. It shows what's already happening. It's like reality saying, you've become what you said you wanted. Now the field understands. Now the code is unlocked. That number carries a precise frequency. It doesn't show up by chance. It doesn't respond to anxiety or to doubt disguised as faith. It shows up when there's steadiness. When your presence starts radiating coherence, when you don't need to prove you believe, because your energy already holds the knowing. It appears unexpectedly, on a clock, on a receipt, on a license plate. And every time you see it, something vibrates deep in your body, a resonance, a chill, a silence that seems to speak loudly. It's working, but it's not the number that activates the shift. It's the shift that activates the number. Seeing 777 is like the universe printing into form what only you had been feeling in silence. It confirms what your soul already knew, and that's why, when you see it, something settles. You realize, I'm not trying anymore, I already am. This kind of sign doesn't come just any time. It comes when the field notices you've stopped vibrating, almost. When you no longer live between extremes, when the oscillation has ended. And even if nothing has changed on the outside yet, inside, you've already shifted enough to start attracting what used to slip away. But 777 isn't the end, it's the door. It marks the moment when you access a new frequency, but it also marks the beginning of something few people notice, the invisible test that separates those who only brush against this state from those who actually live in it. Because now that the vibration has stabilized, the universe wants to see if it will hold. And what comes next isn't a reward. It's the silent challenge that will reveal the strength of your new field. Because this sign is also the start of the test. Will you hold the vibration, even without immediate reward? This is where everything gets decided. Because now that the field has already recognized your new signature, the natural impulse is to expect everything around you to change. You start looking for clearer signs, tangible results, material proof that you're on the right path. But the universe at this exact point goes silent. And that silence isn't rejection, it's a test. The frequency has already been read, the code has already been accepted. But now the field wants to know, do you still need external proof to hold your internal truth? Most people fall here. They go back to looking to the world for confirmation of something that should already be anchored inside. They start asking, why hasn't anything happened yet? Did I do something wrong? Was all this just another illusion? And then, slowly, the old mind starts creeping back in. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It says, you're fooling yourself. It asks, what if it doesn't work? It reminds you, remember the last time you believed too much, and before you know it, you're vibrating doubt again. Thoth warned, the old self doesn't die quietly. It resists. It tries to survive. And to do that, it disguises itself as common sense, as caution, as logic. It shows up with seemingly rational arguments, but underneath, it hides the same old vibration, fear. And fear doesn't have to be big to stop everything. A tiny thought of doubt is enough to start disrupting the field's stability. A brief feeling of impatience opens the door to noise. An automatic self-critical gesture can be enough to pull you back into the old cycle. This is the most dangerous point of the journey, because it's when everything is ready to manifest, but you abandon the frequency before reality can respond. Not because you don't deserve it, but because you're impatient. The truth is, nothing is stuck. The field is already moving. Time is already being reorganized. But manifestation doesn't arrive immediately because it has to move through layers, and each layer responds to a sustained vibration. It's as if the universe is asking, will you hold your frequency even without applause, even without proof, even when everything out there still looks the same? This is the test that defines everything, and it's not punitive, it's educational. Because only when you can hold your vibration without external support does it truly become your identity. As long as you rely on reality to stay steady, you're still wobbling, still vibrating like someone who doubts. But when you keep the same internal state, even in front of nothing, even in the silence, even in the void, then the universe understands. You've anchored. You've become the source. And that's when everything starts to shift. You learn that keeping the new vibration isn't about resisting the old. It's about ignoring the subtle invitations it sends. It's not reacting to the old trigger. It's not accepting the same role. It's not putting on the old story. And that doesn't take effort. It takes a decision to stay. And if you get through this point, the field starts bending time, literally. And you feel it not as a metaphor, but as a real shift in your reality. People show up at the exact right moment. Information appears like it was planted in your path. Circumstances that once seemed far off fit together with precision. It's no longer coincidence. It's collapse. Time stops being a straight line. It bends, reorganizes, speeds up, or slows down depending on what you sustain vibrationally. What once took months happens in days, and what seemed impossible just shows up. Effortlessly, illogically, without explanation. This is when you start to experience what the ancient initiates called living time. Not clock time, not the time that ages, but the time that cooperates, the time that listens, the time that reads you. This living time only activates when your vibration holds steady long enough to reprogram the energy web around you. And when that happens, the universe stops testing and starts supporting you. Doors open because you stopped knocking on the wrong ones. Answers come because you stopped asking in desperation. The right people find you because you've become magnetic to the frequency you once only thought about. This is where the field responds with reality, not with glimpses, not with hunches, but with actual events. Matter starts responding to vibration. The external starts faithfully reflecting the internal. And you realize you're no longer chasing time. Time is now working in your favor. But this shift isn't luck, it's resonance. And it only happens when you inhabit a frequency in a steady way, even if silently, even without fanfare, even without immediate proof. The vibrational response isn't triggered by effort, it's triggered by persistence. And when that persistence sets in, the universe speeds up. Because now it knows what to deliver. Now it understands what you are, not just what you want. But this moment also marks the start of a new phase. Because even though the field is now working with you, there's still a subtler layer that needs to align, your vibrational signature. The silent root still emitting inherited signals, the invisible code holding up everything you're experiencing. And that code is still carrying traces of older versions of you. For the new cycle to be complete, that code must be rewritten. And that doesn't happen with words or rituals. It happens with an alignment so deep, reality itself starts treating you as someone new, and almost no one notices it exists, because it doesn't express itself with words or with conscious actions. It lives in the silent plane, vibrates deep in your presence. It's the tone you emit even when you're still, quiet, not thinking about anything. Your vibrational signature is made up of 3 elements: the emotion that dominates your base, the belief you carry without realizing, and the way you take up space when you walk into a room. Together, this is what the field reads as your energetic identity. And it's from that identity that reality organizes itself around you. That's why so many people say affirmations, practice gratitude, repeat mantras, and still attract scarcity, rejection, conflict. Because their vibrational signature is out of sync. They speak the new, but still vibrate the old. And the universe doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you hold without realizing. Thoth knew this. That's why he never wrote out ready-made formulas. Because there's no point in memorizing words if your body is still vibrating abandonment. There's no use wishing for freedom if your presence still radiates fear. There's no use seeking expansion if your dominant emotion is self-sabotage. This is where the real miracle happens, when your emotional foundation transforms, not through effort, but through reframing. When you stop unconsciously carrying the belief that love rejects, money slips away, pain returns, the field starts to feel a new signal coming from you, a cleaner frequency, less confused, less reactive, and that's what changes the game. You don't need to shout for the universe to hear you. You just need your vibrational signature to say clearly, I am this now, not I want, not I'm trying, but I am. That's when reality starts to bend consistently. Situations change not because you forced them, but because you became a different being in the eyes of the field. And the field has no choice. It can only deliver what matches what you are. And maybe, without realizing it, you're already doing this, because there are signs. When your presence starts to cause effects without effort, when the world responds without you asking, when the repetitions stop and the new begins to flow. These are the traces of your vibrational signature being read correctly. But this new frequency, it carries more than manifestation. It brings a shift that goes beyond goals. It reprograms your entire path, and when it stabilizes, a completely new field activates around you, and everything starts to vibrate differently. People, time, space. And now, this is the field you're about to start feeling, because it's no longer a desire, it's a mirror. It's going to show you exactly who you've become. And in that exact moment, something subtle but deep begins to happen. You walk into a space, and the air shifts. People's presence adapts without you saying a word. They look at you differently. Some approach naturally, others step back, not knowing why. But everything is reacting to one thing, your new frequency. And no, this isn't about charisma or behavior. It's about the field, vibration, silent transmission. You're not just manifesting good things. You're emitting a new energetic identity. An identity that doesn't demand, doesn't push, doesn't chase. It simply is. And because it exists with stability, the field around you starts to reorganize to match who you've become. This is when coincidences increase. Not because you're attracting luck, but because now you're vibrating in coherence. And the field responds to coherence with alignment. You wanted opportunities? They show up. But they don't appear out of nowhere. They were always there. They just couldn't see you before. Now you're seen clearly. Read without noise, perceived as someone who's not trying to convince the universe of anything, just living what you've already become. And that changes everything. Negotiations flow, the right people draw near, conversations that once got stuck now glide. Because your vibration is no longer unstable. You left the cycle of asking, visualizing, and waiting, and entered the pattern of magnetic presence. Nothing needs to be forced, because everything that's true gravitates towards someone vibrating truth. You start noticing even synchronicity intensifies. A thought you have manifests in moments. An idea pops up, and someone immediately mentions it. A sensation arises in your body, and something in the world confirms it. That's the field working in your favor, reorganizing everything around you to reflect your current signature. And most importantly, it happens without mental effort, without you needing to monitor everything all the time. Because the vibration has already been encoded, the system is working, the frequency is anchored. Now the universe is just responding. But here, a new door opens. Because when you reach this stability, something even rarer begins to emerge. You don't just reorganize what's around you. You become the very source of emission that transforms the reality of those who come into contact with you. And this is the second level of vibration. It's at this exact point that the field begins to go beyond the limits of your individuality. What used to be a frequency focused on your own healing, alignment, and awakening now turns into an active force that resonates beyond your body. Your energy starts to touch the world, not as a voluntary gesture, but as a natural consequence of your vibrational stabilization. Your existence stops being just an internal experience and becomes a constant emission, invisible but deeply perceptible. You no longer need to try convincing anyone of what you believe. You don't need to explain yourself, justify your path, or try to be understood. Your presence does that for you. When you enter a room, something shifts. The atmosphere adjusts. Tensions dissolve. Even if people can't put their finger on it, they feel there's something different in the air. Their subtle systems pick up what their eyes can't yet see, that there's a living frequency there, vibrating in coherence. And that begins to generate an almost magical, yet totally natural, phenomenon within the laws of energy. People feel inclined to open up to you, as if a portal had been unlocked. Others, without knowing why, feel the urge to retreat, cry, laugh, or go silent. It's like something in you unlocks a dormant internal space in them. And all of this happens without you saying a single word. Situations that used to be full of emotional noise start to decompress in your presence. Arguments lose power. More conscious words flow naturally. Relationships stuck in repetitive loops begin to self-correct. This happens because your vibration stops being a reaction to the outside world and becomes a transmitting code that directly impacts the surrounding fields. Thoth called this generative frequency. It's not a metaphor. It's a real vibrational state. When a being stabilizes their energetic signature authentically, they become a living source, a conscious emitter, not a manipulator, not an energy seducer, but a presence so coherent, so aligned with internal truth that the field itself becomes a reorganizer of reality. This isn't charisma. It's not psychological magnetism. It's pure vibrational coherence. Children are drawn to you more easily. Animals relax around you. Plants grow with more vitality. Heavy environments lose their weight. All of this because your presence speaks a forgotten language, the pure vibration of being. And that vibration speaks before you do. It transmits before touch. It heals before intention. At this point, you're not just manifesting favorable circumstances. You're generating realignments in others. You're activating forgotten memories. You're reorganizing vibrational microstructures that influence the thoughts, emotions, and decisions of those around you. You become effortlessly a bridge between the old and the new field, a living reminder that it's possible to live with lightness, clarity, and inner alignment. But this expansion doesn't come just as a gift. It brings with it a silent responsibility. Because the moment your field affects the field of others, the universe starts observing you with a new level of demand, not to punish you, but to show you that now everything you feel, even silently, resonates. And if you still carry little distortions, fears, or resistance, they'll also be amplified. You can't hide your vibration anymore. It's your energetic name. It's how the universe reads you. And that's why this stage requires constant presence, deep honesty, and energetic integrity. You can't fake peace you don't feel. You can't recite affirmations while carrying doubt inside. The field now only responds to vibrational truth, not words. And it's at this exact point that the inevitable question arises. Not a mental question, but a cosmic calling, a vibrational inquiry that echoes directly in your consciousness. Are you truly ready to take responsibility for everything you radiate? This question doesn't demand an immediate answer, because only time, encounters, mirrors, and challenges will prove whether your frequency came to transform or just to experiment. And when you truly accept being responsible for everything you radiate, not just in words, but in the silent vibration that fills the space between your actions, the universe understands it's time to introduce you to the next stage. A stage that isn't imposed from the outside, but activated from within. It's the exact point where reality stops reacting to what you say and starts reflecting, with pinpoint accuracy, what you are. This moment is known as the test of vibrational authority, but it's not about a cruel, punitive, or unfair trial. Not at all. It's a mirror, an absolute reflection. A field where everything you vibrate manifests instantly, without buffering, without masks. There's no longer a delay between your vibration and the response. The universe, at this point, functions like a real-time interactive hologram returning to you with surgical clarity exactly what you're emanating, not as punishment, but as vibrational confirmation. And that's when the game really changes, because now any thought you emit takes form faster. A fleeting doubt? It could become a setback the same day. An unresolved emotion you try to hide? It returns as discomfort, delay, disharmony in your space. There's no more room for emotional incoherence. Your field is dense, strong, and any unstable frequency is amplified. Life is now a sensitive radar for your real field, not for what you want to display. This is the territory where many pull back, stumble, or enter conflict because they confuse vibrational authority with control over reality. But it's not about control, it's about energetic transparency. The greater your authority, the greater the visibility of what's inside, and everything inside begins to turn into matter. Untreated vibrations become uncomfortable scenarios. Unintegrated emotions turn into unexpected encounters. And what was in the unconscious materializes. Thoth said that at the peak of elevation, the test becomes subtle but brutally effective. A small, dishonest thought, an action that strays from center, and reality destabilizes. Not as punishment, but as coherence. Elevation demands precision. There's no more room for self-deception. The universe responds instantly, not to break you down, but to alert you. This path is only sustainable with truth, with vibrational integrity. And what is this integrity, after all? It's when your vibration, your intention, and your action are aligned even when no one is watching, even when there's no audience, even when it would be easier to go back to the old cycle. It's saying no to the old pattern without shouting. It's choosing, in the silence, to keep sustaining the frequency of the new, even if everything around you keeps testing your limits. You begin to realize that vibrational authority is not about imposing, not about manipulating the field with techniques or phrases. It's about sustaining what you've chosen to be. It's staying centered in the face of criticism, aligned in the face of doubt, stable even in the face of chaos. Because at this point, your vibration becomes your anchor, your foundation, your guide. That's real power. Not reacting to the outside world from fear, anger, or urgency, but responding to it from your stabilized frequency. And that doesn't come easily. It comes with repetition, with practice, with loving vigilance, because everything around starts testing you, not to break you, but to strengthen you. When you hold your vibration, even through the noise, something starts to shift, not just inside you, but in the way the world responds to you. People step back in the face of your firmness. Time adjusts. Situations fall into place, not because you're forcing your presence, but because you're vibrating in a non-negotiable way. Vibration becomes command, not through tone, but through coherence. And if you pass through this stage without collapsing, without hiding behind excuses, without getting lost in emotional dramas, something new is revealed. A deeper layer of reality, A field where you no longer need to struggle to manifest, where effort disappears, where you stop being someone trying to attract and become someone who simply allows. You start to feel that something is arriving. A lightness, a flow, a presence that surrounds you and repositions you without you lifting a finger, as if reality finally stopped resisting and started to dance with you. This is the threshold, the vibrational line that separates effort from flow, inner war from real freedom. And it's right here that the rarest frequency described by Thoth begins to approach. The frequency of vibrational freedom, the one that finds you when you no longer need to prove anything. Just be. And in that precise moment, after passing through the invisible tests of inner coherence and firmly holding an aligned vibration, something shifts deeply. And it doesn't start with what you see or what you attract, but with what simply stops. The tension disappears. The effort fades. Even the desire begins to dissolve. Wanting, which for so long was both engine and obstacle, goes quiet. Because the flow finally begins. But it's not euphoria, as if the soul is shouting in victory, nor is it apathy, as if nothing matters anymore. What arrives is a state of precision, a fit so perfect between who you are and what reality reflects that the noise vanishes. The stabilized vibration no longer needs to call the universe's attention. It becomes the universe's own pulse within you. Vibrational freedom isn't the absence of action, but the absence of friction. It's the end of forced trying. You no longer need to keep your mind busy with affirmations, techniques, or projections. It's no longer necessary to think positive or control emotions. All of that belonged to a previous stage, where the being was still trying to align with the desired frequency. Here, you are the frequency, and because of that, the field responds, before your request even forms into words. At this point, manifesting stops being an intentional act and becomes an inevitable consequence of your internal state. What used to take discipline now becomes automatic. What used to be a goal is now a reflection. You no longer create from lack. You no longer vibrate to compensate. You no longer ask for what's far away. You emit what's already present. This is the field the ancients called the continuous quantum flow, a space-time where time doesn't pressure, the past doesn't weigh, and the future doesn't intimidate. Answers appear before the question. The right people show up without you looking. Decisions flow with clarity even in uncertainty, not because you have all the answers, but because your center doesn't need them anymore. You start living so fully integrated with the whole that the outside world feels like a natural projection of your inner peace. Synchronicities no longer feel magical, they become the norm. The path unfolds as you walk, like the ground forms beneath your feet. And the most striking sensation of this state isn't excitement or ecstasy, it's tranquility. A depth of stillness that seems to carry the sound of the universe in balance. In this stage, you no longer channel like before. Because you're no longer a channel, you are the very frequency that carries the message. The connection to the invisible is constant. Answers come in silence. Intuitions become clear. Signs stop being exceptions and become directions. You move with ease not because there are no challenges, but because there's no more internal resistance. The universe doesn't give you what you wished for most intensely. It gives you what you can finally sustain without losing your balance. And now, since your vibration has become solid ground, it begins to open a layer that's always been there, but couldn't be accessed while you were stuck in the cycle of wanting, waiting, fearing. Because it's in that space between effort ending and silence deepening that something begins to reveal itself. A piece of information that doesn't come from the mind, or books, or outside signs. A revelation that pulses from the inside out like a calling that can no longer be ignored. The vibration you've held until now didn't just bring you peace. It unlocked the door to your purpose. And now it begins to speak with clarity, with beauty, with truth. You feel it. And you understand, none of this was about conquering the world. It was about remembering who you were before trying to become someone. The universe didn't activate your frequency to give you a better life. It did so because the collective field needed a new anchor point. And you, yes, you, are that living anchor. The frequency of CHIRAK, once stabilized, spreads. It moves through bodies, places, situations. It enters spaces once ruled by heaviness, dissolving old narratives. And it does this without effort, without words, without explanation, just with your presence. Have you noticed how some people light up a room without saying anything? Or how certain encounters leave you lighter, like they cleared something you didn't even know was stuck? That's vibrational field. And now, you're vibrating like that too. Each being who holds this frequency becomes a conscious transmitter, and the more transmitters there are, the more the collective field rises. And when the collective field shifts, entire realities collapse and rewrite themselves. Wars end. Broken systems lose power, forgotten truths rise, healing happens on a massive scale. Not because someone shouted, but because the frequency changed. And that's why you were called. Not to learn techniques, but to be the technique. Not to manifest things, but to manifest a new time. Not to wait for the miracle, but to become the frequency of it. This journey has always been a silent initiation. A reunion with the memory of who you truly are, a consciousness that vibrates beyond fear, beyond doubt, beyond scarcity. You're not here by accident, and if you've made it this far, it's because something inside you already knew, already felt, already remembered. Now, there's no turning back. You've been activated. If your vibration shifted during this video, leave your mark. Write in the comments, "My presence is a new frequency." And let that phrase echo like a seal, because from this moment on, everything around you will begin to shift too. If you've made it this far, it's not by chance. Right now in the comments, "My frequency has already started to change." That phrase isn't just a comment, it's a vibrational code. Whoever writes it anchors. And whoever anchors transforms. And don't leave just yet. A special video has been prepared on the screen, made specifically for this moment in your journey. Click now and keep going with me there, because what's about to be revealed goes even deeper. And if you want to directly support this channel and help spread this wisdom to more people, there's a link in the pinned comment for that. Or you can use the "Thanks a lot" button below. Every bit of support keeps this frequency alive and active in the world. I'll see you in the next video. The new vibration has already begun.